All right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Going to be breaking down the final touches here for the Mexico Open for both PGA DFS and kind of betting as well. Then we're going to be jumping into some round one coverage, talking about my favorite showdown picks, my favorite 3-ball bets, and also getting into my favorite prize picks and underdog prop bets. So fun video. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I do want to start off with calling out the weather. On Monday, it seemed like we might be getting a pretty interesting weather report for Thursday and Friday, where maybe it's potentially creating an advantage for the AMT times, and maybe even more specifically the AMT times for Thursday. That's no longer the case, really. I mean, maybe slightly, but for the most part, the weather report is showing us weather should not be an issue now. It can always change. It's a seaside course as well. We have seen that happen as well. 2 weeks ago, where the weather report was not exactly showing it was going to be difficult weather throughout the weekend, that ended up happening. But I do think for round one showdown purposes, and first round leader better, we still want to be focusing a little bit on the golfers with the AMT time, and I'll touch on that in just a second later on in the video. We are giving a slight emphasis to the AMT times. Now, hopefully you guys are aware of the 9 to 5 write-up. If you are not, and I'm going to be referencing that real quickly off the top. If you're not familiar with it, guys, make sure to scroll down to the bottom of 9to5sports.com and enter your email, and you can subscribe to get access then to that email. Well, we're just going to kind of recap what I was talking about in that video for kind of the main slate purposes. So let's go ahead and get into my outright bets. Okay, so we have a long list of these. I am going a little bit heavier than I typically would. These are first round leader bets. We'll get into that in a second. We'll touch on the outright bets. So I am getting a little bit heavier in my outright bets than I typically would. Okay. Now, I'm not exactly chasing longer odds. I don't feel the need to do that this week. That is something that I have seen some people do, is they're chasing longer odds simply because of the event, I think. But if you look at the leaderboard over the past few years, I don't know if we necessarily need to do that. It's been kind of a predictable leaderboard. The first 2 years, Tony Finau and John Rahm were on top of the leaderboard. Okay. That's not really a shock because those were the top 2 plays. Last year, a little bit of outliers in terms of the top 2 players. Okay. Jake Knapp, and then I'm not going to butcher the other golfer's last name. But then you go down the list and it's a lot of predictable golfers. And so to me, I'm looking at this, maybe it's not as random in terms of who's likely to win. We can at least, like we always want to do, just be on the golfers that are the most likely to play well. Hopefully it works out for us. Okay. And I do kind of expect this to be a better week. Now, for me, in simple, there are a couple of must bets. And the obvious bet to me is going to be the one golfer that is considered a good outright bet this week, and that's going to be Sam Stevens. So just kind of a simple click. He's been playing great golf. His one knock is going to be the fact that he struggled at this course and tournament last year, but obviously playing great golf here lately, and we can get him on average at 22-1. Feel pretty good about that. I mean, we can get him at 22-1. That feels pretty good. And then another golfer that I just need to be betting on is going to be the only core play that we have this week. And that's going to be Akshay. I'm actually pretty shocked at the amount of people that are not on Akshay. Kind of the clear-cut choice this week is Akshay. And I get it's not the best odds, and people are probably chasing longer odds on purpose. But at the same time, he is clearly the best play. It's like, why are we passing up on a guy that's checking all the boxes this week, right? Best specialist in the field. Maybe not the best stat fit on the season thus far, but still nothing to worry about in this game. Like 15th best stat fit, kind of, oh well. Okay, 3rd best recent form, 4th best course history with that good finish 2 years ago at this event. He's really just kind of the easy click here. And even though we're getting him at 14-1, that's still not terrible odds. I get why some people might be passing on it if they're just chasing longer odds. But at the same time, you could end your betting card there, Sam Stevens, Akshay, and feel pretty good about it. I am going a little bit deeper because I do think there's a chance we could hit a golfer at a little bit of longer odds. So like Harry Hall, Stefan Jaeger, yes, they have a little bit of concerns just with 2 recent missed cuts. At the same time, I do like the odds they're getting. I'm 35-1 for Harry Hall. Feels pretty good. A guy that's been knocking on the door. Wouldn't be surprising to see him come through. And then Jaeger as well. Basically the exact same thing with him, where he's had some of those spike weeks. He just hasn't been able to, over the last 7 starts at least, get that W, 2nd, 3rd. So we do expect him to have a good week. But the issue this week is I could honestly make a case for like every single golfer that's like above 9K as a good outright bet. Okay, like Hogard, I'd be fine with. Kurt Kitayama, I'd be fine with. I wouldn't argue that. Aaron Rai, Patrick Rogers, I wouldn't argue those picks. Michael Kim, maybe I would slightly argue it, but still not terrible. Like data-wise, it makes sense. Bo Hosler is a player that I'm honestly, it's more of a FOMO pick for me, but he does set up pretty well. So he's not going to be the best stat fit. He's kind of slightly worse version of Akshay. Okay, and we get him at 35-1. This is definitely a FOMO bet, but he has been someone that has seemed like he could potentially go out and win. And he just, again, it's a FOMO bet, but course history, top 10, good specialist, good recent form, fine with those odds. Then Alex Smalley. Alex Smalley is one of the better like GPP only type plays, I would say, for DFS. And outright wise, he's kind of a clear option. And then some players that I'm a little bit surprised people aren't on: CD Pan, Kevin Roy, and Ryan Girard. Girard. I don't know. I'm gonna hear that a lot. Obviously, this weekend when he's winning on Sunday, and obviously takes home the trophy for us. So I'll have that last name down once he wins the trophy for us here at the Mexico Open, guys. So don't worry about that last name. We'll all know it by the end of the week. But 80-1 for him is pretty darn solid. So if we're chasing a golfer with longer odds, this is kind of ideally the one I want to begin to. And the theme with this week, guys, is that we are seeing lots of differing odds. Like, look at this Pinnacle, which is not really a U.S. Betting company, but I have the data, so I include that. 100-1, 105-1 for him. I mean, that's crazy. PointsBet 80-1, still pretty good. BetMGM 55-1, so really differing odds here. And, he's the 7th best staff in the field. Not the best specialist, that's the one concern, but he does have course experience. A 33rd place finish at this event 2 years ago. The form has been pretty darn good. 15th at the Farmers, American Express 51st, Sony Open 37th, 14th. Prior to that, not exactly the best, but 3 made cuts thus far this season, and we're getting him at about 80-1. That's pretty good for a guy that's, good enough. And if we're chasing a longer shot bet, obviously the odds of him hitting are not going to be as great, but this is kind of one of the longer shot bets that I want, where there's no real concerns data-wise with him. He might not be like the best, like in terms of like peak data points that we're looking at in terms of those top-end golfers, but there's nothing to not like about him as well. And so, yeah, I really like him. And then, yeah, CT Pan kind of fits that mold as well, where I do love the odds that we're getting on him. 60-1 on Bovada, if you guys can get that. 65-1 on Bet Online, if you guys can get that. If not, I am fine with him at 50-1. Just a solid play, good specialist. Course history has been pretty strong here as well. Great stat fit. 4 straight make cuts in a row now with the top 10 finish. I mean, we like to see that there from him. Would love to see a little bit more starts out of him thus far this season. That's the one knock. If we could have got 3 starts out of him this season, I would have liked that a little bit better, but he kind of seems like a good one for us. And let's go ahead and talk about Kevin Roy. So Kevin Roy, I mentioned on Twitter and in the write-up as well, is that the one concern with Kevin Roy is we have no idea why he withdrew from that event, at the Farmers. Okay, withdrew it from that event. Because we have no news, I'm assuming it's going to be because of that illness that was going around on the PGA Tour. Like, we saw multiple players withdraw from that tournament because of that. Maybe Aubert played poorly at the Farmers because of that as well. 3 weeks ago now. I'm saying it's that. And if it is that, then he's still going to be a good play for us this week. Okay, we see the upside from him. If you want to use the Bermuda Championship as like a comparable event, you could. Top 10 finish there. Don't do that. He is someone that has made a start here. So like, we're better off just looking at that, where he had a top 20 finish. So good course history. But prior, other than that, top 12 at the Valspar, okay at the Sony 45th, and then American Express 18th. So we've seen him play well, really good stat fit as well. And the fact that we can get him at now, let's see, Pinnacle 100-1, Bovada 90-1, Bet Online 100-1. That's pretty crazy. American books are a little bit better. But if you are someone that maybe does more offshore bets, pretty solid, but still 71. I'm fine with that. Like, really good odds there for Kevin Roy. And so those are a lot of players that I'm going to be on DFS wise as well. But I did want to spend time on the outright bets because those are all players that we could potentially be on DFS wise as well, a decent amount. Okay, but let's kind of break it down a little bit further. And I want to take a peek here at some of the ownerships here. And the one thing that's interesting about this week is it's a lot like last week, I would say, in the sense that none of the ownerships are really wrong. I would say that, like, we don't really need to change anything because of that. Now, last week ended up being an awesome ownership leverage week in terms of the golfers that were over-owned. None of them really outproduced their price tag or their ownership levels. They all ended up being good players to avoid. The players that were good leverage options for the most part all played pretty well. Patrick Cantlay being the top leverage play produced really well. And so we see some of the top leverage plays here. Harry Hall, Aaron Rai, it makes sense. This is a week where I don't think there's that big of a difference in terms of the top end golfers. We should be targeting a lot of the golfers that are a little bit lower owned. Now, when we sort it by salary here, guys, like some of these golfers that are higher projected owned, there's no need to get there. Like Harry Hall and Aaron Rai, they're basically the exact same plays as all the other golfers that are priced above them, minus Akshay. There's no real reason to go out of our way to target those guys. Jake Knapp, probably a little bit higher owned than he should be. He's not a terrible option, but you look at him compared to CD Pan, a very comparable player. Obviously I like CD Pan a little bit better stat fit this week, and at lower price. Like, yeah, we'd want to get to him a little bit more. I don't really like Oleson as well, but he's someone you could get to as well. So this is a week where, if you are worried about maybe your lineup being a little bit chalky, you shouldn't. I try to use the 9-5 lineup builder to make it the chalkiest build possible. It's pretty ugly. And so that's encouraging to me. Typically speaking, guys, ownership really doesn't matter for like main builds. Obviously for GPPs, it does slightly. But it's not like something we should be concentrating on this week because it shouldn't end up mattering too much. And I'll show you guys what I mean. So I'm going to put the total ownership to like 90% there. I'm just going to try to do that. And we're just going to run it. And they're all kind of bad. Like we're getting to 90% ownership pretty much across the board. But we're getting a lot of risky players that are coming up as kind of chalk plays here. So Jaeger, like I love him this week, but he's kind of risky. Alex Smalley, again, I love him, but he's a little bit risky. And so like I just generally I don't know if this is a week where we should be concentrating on really gaining leverage. If it works out for us or like you're going through, do you want to be on more or less due to the ownership, to maybe make some decisions, you can do that. But other than that, I wouldn't go too crazy with it. And so let's go ahead and jump back into the write-up, guys. We have a couple of tournament bets that we could potentially get on. Harry Hall beating Kevin Yu -120 on DraftKings, and then Svensson beating Patrick Fishburne -105 on DraftKings. Again, those are going to be more of the normal books that we see. So we're going to click on those ones so you guys can see what I'm seeing there. And here we go. So this is the edge rating. So Patrick Fishburne's not terrible. Oh, +100 now. That's pretty crazy there for Svensson. So very good edge for us there. I think we should be targeting that one. And then, yeah, Kevin Yu versus Harry Hall. Harry Hall's going to be the favorite to win there, but I do like those odds that we are getting there for Harry Hall there. So pretty comfortable with those two tournament bets. But with that, guys, let's go ahead and jump into my favorite matchup bets here as well. Again, just real quickly, jumping into the round one matchup bets. Ryan Fox beating Grayson Sigg -105. Decently like that one. Aaron Rai beating Patrick Rogers -105. Okay, so I do want to touch on kind of just the round one process that I'm going through this week. And now, guys, I do want to go ahead and jump on into some first round leader bets here. So first round leader wise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort by early tee times. We're going to sort by first round leader bets. Okay. And because I don't really think that it's going to be a massive advantage for the AM only tee or for the AM or early tee times, but I do think it's going to be a slight advantage this at least on Thursday, maybe on Friday as well. And so it might not be a full stroke, it might not be a half a stroke difference, it might like be a quarter stroke or a tenth of a stroke, but that could end up being the difference between having a good week or not. And obviously last week on Seamus Power still mad at Danny McCarthy for that. And Patrick Rogers for that matter. It's just brutal to not hit that. At 90-1 for Patrick Rogers, brutal. But yeah, Ryan Fox to me is like a similar option to that where we go down the list. He's the sixth most likely of the AMT times. He is someone that does have an earlier tee time as well. You can get him at 66-1, feel pretty good about that. But this is, I'm fine betting on a lot of these golfers here. So like literally just going down the list, Alex Smalley, Taylor Moore, Ryan Fox, I'm pretty okay with that. Kevin Yu, NCD Pan, like just going down the list. Hopefully we hit a full winner with that. If we hit some ties, kind of oh well, but I feel pretty comfortable just doing that because they're all golfers that do rank out pretty well this week. And there's no like longer shot first round leader bets that we should be getting to. Maybe you could argue Ben Cole's at 110-1. Like, I don't hate that, but like, why force it? Like, we don't need to force bets. We got plenty of great options at pretty deep odds for first round leader bets. Let's just take advantage of the fact that we are getting those really good odds. Now, if you are someone that maybe doesn't want to just bet on first round leader bets, you could easily do DraftKings where they're doing ties, they're paying out ties, or BetMGM, they typically pay out ties as well for like top 5, top 10. That's obviously a better route to go. And if you have been doing that, you've been really profitable first round leader wise thus far this year. So you could end up doing that as well, but did want to call it, these are the top first round leader picks. And so with that, they're also going to be the top showdown picks as well. And so for round one showdown, I am adjusting golfers that have AMT times to get a slight bump, okay? And so with that, I'm just going to click this and generate for you guys so you can get a general sense of what we're looking at. It's not a big difference, but we are slightly favoring those golfers that have the AMT times. And so with that, we are probably going to see a little bit more golfers with those AMT times popping up a little bit more. And again, if we can just get that tenth of a stroke advantage, maybe 1 to 2 points, fantasy points scored, add on to our DraftKings builds, we're going to be sitting pretty good. And hopefully we can all hit another GPP like we did on round 4 showdown. That'd be pretty awesome. A lot of people had, I'm pretty sure, used the 95 lineup builder. I had several people messaging me saying that they did and were able to win a GPP in round 4. But I think this is a good route to go for round 1. We'll have a better indication of what to do though for round 2 as a result of what we're seeing here in round 1. So now I want to go ahead and jump into some 3-ball bets here for round 1, guys. And this is going to be something that I think is a good spot to attack. So I mentioned I did some slight updates to it to really dial in a little bit more as to which golfers we should be on. And so what you're seeing me do right now is I'm moving the edge up to positive edge only. So comparing kind of the 9-to-5 data against the sportsbook data. And then we're also going to do matchup bets that have an over 30% likelihood to hit. And so where are we getting those edges? Okay, so Sam Ryder winning his group, decent. This is for round 1, so I actually like Grayson Sig a lot more throughout the tournament, but Sam Ryder ranks out pretty well for round 1. Akshay winning his group, and the fact that we can get him at like as a payout of 1.91, that feels pretty darn good. We'll take that there. KH Lee winning his group, I'm actually fine with that as well. Harry Hall, I really like the top 5 here, guys. We can do those top 5. And so these are going to be my top 5 bets here, 4 3-ball bets in round 1. I feel pretty comfortable with those ones right now. And then let's go ahead now and jump into some prize picks, underdog prop bets. So as always, we want to start off with where we are getting some stroke line differences. And so Alex Smalley, guys, is a golfer that is projected to play well in round 1. I do like the idea of betting on his under strokes there of 69. Now, it is worth calling out that the scoring average is typically around 7 here, okay? Only about 4 birdies or so are scored on average as well. And so, him ranking out as someone that's a little bit hit or miss, but a good first round leader pick, the fact that we're getting him at only 1 under the average, I'm perfectly fine with, which would be 2 under par. So I'm fine with that. I think that's a good bet. I wouldn't want to be betting the over on underdog. So I think we should be taking advantage of that slight advantage that we have there. From there, I don't think we need to go with Olesen there or anything like that. We'll sort by edge now. And I do think it's interesting, some of these bets that we were getting. So the birdie average is around 4.1. And so you're telling me that Kurt Kitayama, Hogard, I like Akshay, I don't want to bet that, or Hogard, and we go lower, Jaeger, we can even go lower like Harry Hall. You're telling me that all these golfers are going to get 6 birdies? That seems pretty crazy. Now, some of these might end up being pushes, but the fact that they're going to get 6 birdies to hit their over does seem to be crazy to me. Their line should be at 4.5. I get why they're at 5. They're going to be pushes, but the chances are the unders are going to hit more frequently than the overs. So the issue is when we pair these all together with a prize pick slip, the payout gets significantly reduced. So we don't need to exactly do that. Pick and choose which one you guys like here the most to go ahead and bet the unders on. But yeah, it does seem like the lines are a little bit too high. Now, if you guys are maybe not liking those bets and you want to go a different route, like you could do Adam Svensson maybe for over his greens and regulation, Hogard for over his fairways hit, Stefan Jaeger for over his fairways hit. Those are all decent bets there as well. And so it's really for you guys to decide what side you want to be on for those edges, but they're all pretty decent. I'm fine with all of them. And so we'll jump on into the bet of the day here for round 1 with prize picks, guys. We are looking at Kurt Kitayama to get under 5 birdies or better. Again, it's just not like it's going to be difficult for these golfers to get to over 6 birdies. I'm assuming maybe I haven't checked the pin placements or tee placements just as an FYI. Maybe they decided to play a little bit easier, but chances are 6 birdies is going to be difficult to get to. So I'm fine attacking a bet that could end up being a push. And then Alex Smalley to get under 69 strokes. He is a little bit hit or miss of an option. He could end up on gain 67 strokes, and we're feeling very good about this. Maybe he has a blow pull and destroys us here, but I'm fine getting to these ones. You can also bet these ones, similar ones on underdog. We'll take a peek at underdog real quick. Do want to remind you guys of the promo code to use on either prize picks or underdog. For prize picks, it's going to be the number 9 TO5. If you use that promo code, it'll give you guys $50 instantly when you spend your first $5, which is a great deal. But underdog, you spell it 9 to 5, you guys will get a $50 deposit match. Just a simple way to help out the channel there as well. And so for the underdog bet slip, we're going to be going with CT Pan for lower strokes here, guys. Obviously, I like him. He's one of the better golfers for first round leader rank with that AMT time. And we're getting him at 69 strokes. He's a guy that projects well for just the tournament as well. Feels like a good edge. That should be at 68. And then don't mind doing Harry Hall for over 4.5 birdies or better. You can pick and choose a different one that you guys like. Kind of fine with either option there, but decent little edges there. And then just a quick reminder, guys, if you guys have never signed up for the 9 to 5 membership before, make sure to do so. It's only $10 a month, gives you access to all the fantasy golf tools, all the curated fantasy golf tools. There is a custom model in there. I typically don't try to sell people on the custom model because the 9 to 5 data has already done all the work for you. That's why we're able to have good sustained success, not only for the season, but each and every round as well. That's where the head-to-head bets, the 3-ball bets, everything is built off of that. And so take advantage of that, guys. Great deal. Only $10 a month. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. Good luck with all your bets and your lineups. That's all. And as always, let's keep cashing.